Hey everybody, so this is the beginning of Unit 4. It's the scientific revolution. And we're going to start off by talking about the solar system. So even though this isn't a science class, there's a little bit of it mixed in. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of my favorite astrophysicists, and he really sort of sums up this scientific method and this idea of science in a good way. He says, "The good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it." So here we go. We're going to take a look at the earliest beliefs about astronomy. So it was believed by most that Earth was the center of the universe. This idea came from the astronomer Ptolemy, who lived in ancient Greece around the year 100. So he had this idea that Earth was at the center of the universe, and it became known as the geocentric model. So geo in Greek and Latin means Earth, and so geocentric, it's saying the Earth is at the center. And so this kind of makes sense. Ptolemy looks up at the stars. He sees things, they go around him. The sun rises and it sort of wraps around. And so based off of these, easy observations, he thinks that those objects are moving around him and that the earth is stationary. So you can't blame him for thinking that, but future astronomers would prove him wrong. So the Roman Catholic Church accepted the geocentric model as correct. They basically said, okay, yeah, this makes sense. God values us in a special way. We have a special position in the universe. And so, of course, we'd be stationary while everybody else is rotating around us. We are, of course, the center of the universe. So it wouldn't be until Nicholas Copernicus, a Polish astronomer, basically starts to think about this. He falls in love with astronomy in college after seeing a solar eclipse in the late 1400s, and he wanted to prove that, in fact, the sun was at the center of the universe. So he comes up with what is called the heliocentric model. So he says, it doesn't make sense that we, this tiny little planet, would be what everything is circling around. He theorizes, he hypothesizes that the sun is at the center of the universe. And so he basically comes up with a different model. Copernicus found that planets revolved around the sun and the moon revolves around the earth. Johannes Kepler, another astronomer, agreed and actually calculated the orbits of the planets, and he found that they have elliptical orbits, not circular, even though it looks really, really close to being circular. And so if you put the sun at the center of the universe, you can see that it creates this really nice system where all the planets are rotating around the sun. In 1610, Galileo Galilei used a telescope that he created in order to show that the moon had mountains and moons. They were not heavenly bodies made of pure light. And he wrote down his findings in a book called Starry Messenger. So basically, he's using this telescope, this tool that had only really been used for like sailing, that kind of thing. And he points it up at the stars, and he's able to kind of prove that they're just like us. The other planets have what look like rivers and what look like mountains, and these other planets have moons orbiting around them. And so maybe we aren't as special as we originally thought. Galileo invented an improved telescope that let him observe and describe the moons of Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, and the phases of Venus, sunspots, and the rugged lunar surface. His flair for self-promotion earned him powerful friends among Italy's ruling elite, but he also created a lot of enemies with the Catholic Church who believed in the geocentric model. So you have Galileo saying that the sun is at the center of the universe, that these other planets and these other celestial objects are just like us. And it goes strictly against what the church has believed for a long time. They're saying, no, this can't be. It goes against this idea that the earth is at the center of the universe. It goes against the idea that we're special. And so Galileo is sort of ostracized from society. He's sort of cut out from society by the Catholic Church. So his advocacy for a heliocentric universe brought him before the religious authorities, and in 1616, then again in 1633, he was forced basically to be under house arrest for his life. And one of the interesting things there is the church forced him to recant or to go back on his published beliefs. And it was really like this move basically to try and save face, even though anyone who was educated, anyone who could understand, would realize that, yeah, his findings make sense. In this situation, the church was not willing to accept it yet. The Catholic Church banned the writings of Copernicus in 1616 because they did not like the idea that God was not at the center of the universe and that Earth was not at the center of the universe. And so it basically created a lot of tension with science and religion. How is this relationship going to work? If science proves one thing but religion believes another, where does the public fall? The theory of gravity. So we start to think about the universe with gravity. Sir Isaac Newton studied the motion of the planets and objects on Earth, and he realized in the late 1600s that motion can be explained mathematically. He basically came up with the idea of gravity and stated that every object was attracted to every other object based on its mass and density. So there's this old idea that he's sitting under a tree and an apple falls and hits him in the head, and he suddenly, boom, understands that a small object like the apple came down to the earth, a huge object, because of its gravity. So he hypothesizes that smaller objects will be attracted to larger objects. And this is true on Earth, it's true in space, it's true everywhere, according to his theory of gravity. So, you have a homework assignment. You're going to be creating a trading card based on one of these famous scientists on the list next to you. Galileo, Copernicus, Newton, Kepler, or Francis Bacon. So what I'm expecting with this is basically you need to find an image that looks appropriate for the front of the baseball card along with their name. So you can see I chose Neil deGrasse Tyson along with his name. So I chose a picture that fit really nicely there. On the back, you're going to give me bullet points on who this person is and why they were so important, some of their scientific accomplishments. So for instance, Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist. He's the director of the Hayden Planetarium. He's written several books on astrophysics. He's a science educator, and most recently, he's the host of the TV show Cosmos, Spacetime Odyssey. And then underneath, I threw his signature there because it kind of looks nice. Maybe you could put a fun fact or something if you can't find a signature of your famous scientist. So that would be fine too. So I'm going to go over in class a little more specifically the rubric for how this is going to be graded. But I'm going to give you about a week to do it. And I think that's more than enough time. And I want these to be made, for the most part, in Google Classroom, in Google Drawings. If you really, really feel strongly about doing it on paper, that's okay. You'll just have to email me those images. So, yeah. Other than that, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.